When it comes to the very end of one year and we transition into another year, it presents a huge opportunity to be able to leave behind an old version of ourselves, an old identity, and transition into somebody that we really want to be, the man that we are dreaming of being. The problem is that for a lot of us, we don't know how to package this together. We don't know how to set clear goals, how to stick with them, and how to have clarity about the man that we want to become. I'm going to be putting together the exact 5 steps that I've used, that my clients have used to create the blueprint to being next level ready to take on 2026 and build the identity that you desperately want for the life that you're looking to live, for success in your personal life, in your relationships, and your business. The problem for a lot of guys is that they are setting goals, but they have no direction. So those goals aren't strong enough to withhold all of the distractions that will come with 2026. The directional piece is the emotional connection to the goals. And if we don't have that piece, if we don't have that why, and we don't understand the reasons of why we have chosen those goals, then when it gets tough, when it gets hard, we're going to fall off the bandwagon and we're going to slip back to the old identity that we used to be. So when we work with men in the Mission 365, we look to take them from an identity A, to identity B, and then C, and then D. One of the main things that men get wrong when we transfer not only just to another year, but to another month, to another week, is that we're always working to the next best version of ourselves. And we have to understand who we're going to leave behind and who we're going to evolve to become. And we base a lot of those goals on superficial targets, like numbers in your business, like materialistic things like holidays or new cars. But actually what we don't do enough of is focus more on the things that are for us to improve you internally as the asset of your life, as the leader to everyone else. And it's like trying to set up those goals without a system for them to be successful. So what I want to go through in this video is go through the 4 steps to gain clarity of where 2026 is taking you, so that you're not going into the new year full of hope and guesswork to become that better version of yourself. Way back in the day, I never even used to plan my New Year's. I never used to have New Year's resolutions. I never used to have missions. I never used to have any idea about what I was going to achieve. What I would simply do is get through Christmas, go out on a night out New Year's Eve, come back in and lock in and go, I want to get fitter. I want to improve my career. Just very lethargic, easy things to say to get me motivated for at least a couple of weeks. And as I got older and I took on more responsibility, it became more and more inevitable that I had to change my system and the way that I operated and improving going into a new year. I had to build structure, routines, and systems to allow me to operate at the level that I really wanted to. One of the biggest game changers for me personally was 2017. And this was when I was transitioning out of my first business, which was a fitness boot camp. And I was transitioning into becoming an online coach and mentor. And in order to do that, I had to shift my identity. So I had to get really clear on the clarity of the direction that I was heading. What were these new goals? What were these new outcomes? Why were they important? I wasn't just shifting an identity personally, but it was also happening professionally. The thing I came to learn is that when we lead with the identity piece, the purpose piece, the mission piece, all of the sub outcomes and goals that we set ourselves, like losing weight, bringing more money into the business, having better relationships, they naturally follow those lead examples of you building a new identity, a new mission, a new purpose in life. Over the last 13 years, I've worked with multiple people, men and women, in terms of building a system that allows them to evolve, execute, and embody a new identity going into the new year. When that's at the forefront, when that's at the spearhead of your change and your transformation, everything else will follow. I've helped now over 20,000 people go through these types of systems. I have seen every different type of scenario, from people absolutely thriving and owning their year to people crumbling without a system after 2 weeks. So the thing that we have to understand here before we go through these 4 steps is that clarity is not a list that you create. It's a direction that you are heading. Getting certain on filling the gaps of uncertainty is going to be one of the biggest shifts that you make in your mindset and your belief system. When you gain clarity, you gain momentum, consistency, control, commitment, because clarity is the forefront of your transformation. And the thing that we have to understand is that if we don't define ourselves as the man, the rest of the world will, with all of its villains, its chaos, and its external influences that they have on you. In order for us to lead as the man that we want to be, we have to take charge at this point of the year. So before we go into these 4 steps, if at any point you feel like you want to come and get more resources of us, more podcasts, free copy of my book, a ton of content and structured videos, then in the description you'll find a link to our Mission Hub, which is our school community. It is free and it provides ample amount of content to help you build in 2026. So the first step is going to be definition. The definition of you. How do I define myself? Now, there are 4 points that we need to look at. Number 1 is the man that you must become. You have to define who you want to become. And you can do that by simply writing it down on a piece of paper in a notepad and keep looking at that every single morning. And as time goes on, you'll evolve that meaning. Number 2 is understanding the identity that you want to step into. It's very difficult to know who that person is going to be unless we're in the process. But what you can do is think about the desires that you have as the man that you want to be. Want to have more connection at home. Want to make sure fitness is non-negotiable. Want to make sure that you've got your priorities in order. Want to be more organized and controlled. These are key identity traits of someone that is evolving from a state of average or cycle of chaos to somebody that's leading from the front. The next one is what standards must rise. Think about your standards right now. Think about what standards could be improved. If you was to choose 2 standards that could improve over the next 4 to 6 weeks, what would they be? Would it be your time? Would it be your work-life balance? Would it be your barriers? Would it be your phone management? It's about understanding what the most important standards are that are going to help define you, become the man you want to be. The last part is what behaviors must die. Make a big list, brain dump all of the things that you hate about your own behaviors that surround your identity right now, the person we're going to leave behind. If you had to choose 1 or 2 that you would leave behind over the next 4 to 6 weeks, what would they be? So the step 2 is going to be our life audit. Now we're going to use the Mission Balance Code, which is our 5 pillars. Health, relationships, business, personal development, and fun. And you're going to score yourself out of 10. You cannot score 7. It's too easy. 10 means that you are all in on your health. 0 means that you've paid no attention to it. And what we're going to do is base this on the last 6 months since you've watched this video. Think back and think about how consistent have you been with health? How much control have you had with your health? How much clarity have you had with the health on where you want it to go? And how much commitment have you put into it? I have to think about here, thinking about what's been working and what's been failing, what have been the lessons. And go ahead and write this down. And you can do something like this every single week. It's what we do in the Mission 365. We do a weekly audit on ourselves to recognize where our balance is in the man that we're trying to be. Okay, so step 3, vision versus reality. Put in an envelope where you want to be by the end of the year. So if you use the system of the Mission Balance Code, the 5 pillars, and you write down a dream, mission, or outcome that you will have achieved by the end of the year, stick it in an envelope, stick it in a drawer, ready for you to come back to in 12 months' time. We're then going to look at where do you need to be at the end of Q1 and where do you need to be at the end of January for this to start happening. So I always look at what is the gap that needs to be covered. So we go right to the very end and we reverse engineer and go, what needs to happen right now, immediately, to start making that a reality. The next part is what is the cost if you don't do this? Is it maybe if you don't start getting your work-life balance right, you're going to lose that connection with the people you love the most? If you're not going to start paying attention to your health, is that going to then affect the way that you operate and your energy levels? And then the last part is what needs to change right now, today? What's the thing that we need to leave behind immediately? And that's for you to then write down and create an understanding and get that clarity of the gap, the cost, and the change now. So then we come on to the last part, which is step 4. This is the non-negotiables. So these are some of the key aspects that I want you to think about. In terms of your health baseline, what does that need to look like? What is the basic level of fitness, mentally, emotionally, and physically you need to feel and you need to see? Number 2 is, what is the relationship commitment that you're going to put in? Is it making sure you're switching off at the weekend? Is it making sure you have barriers in the morning and the evening? Is it making sure that you manage your phone? The next one is, what are your outcomes in your career? Is it promotion? Is it revenue? Is it infrastructure? Is it growth? Is it branding? Identify what that is going to be. What's the non-negotiable in terms of that business development? The next part is lifestyle design. Understand what type of life you want. So our key value is building success from home. So one of the things that we always encourage working with the guys is, how do we build success from home? How do we get those values right? How do we get those systems right to be able to do that first? And that then goes into the rest of your life. And then the last one is, how do we make sure that boundaries are implemented? What are the boundaries we need to put into place? And the whole point of what we're doing here is getting clarity of who we are going to be going into 26. Answering all of these questions, doing all of these exercises creates the framework in which we're going to build ourselves on. So understanding that this clarity here is the foundations. So if you think about when we build a skyscraper, we have to dig down deep to build those foundations to build high. This is what we're doing here. This piece here is your clarity, it's your foundations for growth. This also becomes your discipline blueprint. So everything that you said that you were going to become, you've got to show the discipline to being this man. You're almost creating this man right in front of you, but this has to be the foundations of your discipline that will help you grow. This is also the discipline for the key progressive frameworks. When you evolve, when you execute, and when you embody. This is your foundation. You are creating that blueprint right here. This is how you evolve from identity A to identity B. This is how you build a year that allows you to actually be successful. One that doesn't last 2 weeks when you fall down when there are no systems. This is one that allows you to take you on a journey far beyond anything you've done before and be consistent, have control, be committed, and have the clarity to move you forwards. So if you like what you've listened to here, we have an opportunity to come and work with us for 2 weeks. It's our 2-week Mission Insight program. It allows you to come into the Mission 365, be part of the brotherhood, be part of the accountability system, get coached by myself, and get some direction immediately with some big wins very, very quickly. And if you want to go deeper into this structure, then you can watch video 2 here. This is going into your 2026 operating system and how to create it.